Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here. Recently, one of my patrons, Jonathan Booth, made a $10 plus pledge to me. One of the rewards for this pledge is a chance to request a review of anything at all from me. Jonathan chose the Drawn Together movie, The Movie. Now, I did watch the Drawn Together TV show many years ago. I really liked it and found it funny, but after watching this film, I'm starting to question whether it was actually good in the first place. Drawn Together is a reality TV show centered on a gang of famous cartoon character parodies. Things seem fishy though, because the house challenges from the producer are getting redundant. The cartoons work out that the show has actually been cancelled, and an animation erasing robot called I.S.R.A.E.L has been sent to kill them. In a bid to get the show back on the air, the Drawn Together team journey to find the star of a show called Suck My Taint, an obvious parody of South Park, who says that they need to give their show a point, which can be found in the world of Make a Point Land. I have never seen such an insecure, jealous and whiny film like this before. The main message that the movie wants to make is that Drawn Together should be allowed to be pointless vulgarity with nothing to say, but it's entitled to have huge success and shouldn't be cancelled. This is like if a 2-year-old took a dump in their potty and demanded a war medal from the Queen. Drawn Together, if you want to be mindless, immature drivel, then fine, there's a fanbase for everything, but don't expect the same kind of critical acclaim and high ratings as your rival. You can't have your cake and eat it too! The film's problem with South Park is that they think it's doing the same thing as Drawn Together, except that it's throwing a preachy message at the end of each episode. Dear Drawn Together staff, you do know that Stan's speeches at the end of South Park episodes, which are no longer a running part of the show anymore by the way, is an intentional parody of animated PSA specials, in which a cartoon character would turn to the camera and spell out the lesson, except in South Park it's tied to a silly or gross story. That's the whole joke. It's not trying to be genuinely preachy. South Park creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker know that the meaning of their episodes are blatant too. They're not attempting to subtly code their gross out humor with something deep. You've not cracked anything secret by saying, "Hey, South Park are being vulgar while trying to sneak in a message." Trey and Matt are never discreet about how they feel. They're both loudly opinionated and usually make their message a thematic part of a whole South Park episode. You want to know why South Park is more successful than Drawn Together? Trey and Matt take storytelling and character development very seriously, to the point where they now teach writing lessons to students. In order to keep viewers coming back, they develop the show's universe and characters, making us care about the South Park residents and the events that happen in their town. Sometimes South Park is just dumb, gross fun too. There's not always a lesson to teach. Heck, Trey and Matt started getting so tired of fans reading too deep into some of their episodes that they made an entire episode about not trying to overanalyze them and just accept that sometimes they want to be silly and stupid, that's it. Not to mention, Trey recently condemned animated movies that shoehorn in a tear-jerking moment at the end and encourage cartoons to just be mindless fun sometimes. Also, for a film that hates South Park, it sure likes to copy Trey and Matt's show, from Make a Point Land being exactly like Imagination Land, to having an ending that directly copies the climax to the South Park movie, almost shot for shot. Now, before you defend this and say, "But Jambareeqi, they're trying to take the mick out of South Park," where's the joke? These are just straight up references, the kind of humor you'd expect from a Seltzerberg comedy. Plagiarism isn't funny, it's simply tracing over someone else's hard work. Now, I'm not trying to be over defensive of South Park. I'm totally cool with a show criticizing South Park. I'm sure there's lots of things it could be called out on. When it comes to satire, anything could be a target. But the Drawn Together movie's attempt to drag down South Park is just pitiful. It's like watching a soldier armed with a twig trying to take on the United States Army. If you're going to attack a far more successful show than yours, then you're going to need more ammo than this. Yes, the movie's characters do draw attention to their bitterness over being cancelled in one scene.
Where? I can see it. It's right over there. Between why you so bitter about being canceled land, and you have 3 or 4 seasons, you should be happy with what you got. Most shows don't even get that lane.
But this doesn't suddenly make the film humble or less bitter. It's still dedicating a feature-length runtime to complaining about being cancelled, while never giving a solid enough reason why their cancellation was unjust. Another major difference between this movie and South Park is actually funny. Even when I don't agree with a message in a South Park episode, which has happened a lot, I'm at least laughing my arse off at the jokes and gags. Not once did I loudly laugh at the Drawn Together movie. Nothing of comedic value is here. Because the film is straight to DVD, it doesn't have to worry about censorship, so it goes all out on the violence, nudity, and sex. That's pretty much what the jokes are limited to, seeing cartoon characters getting naked, having sex, or killing innocent creatures. That is it. There's no punchlines, no wit, no clever subtext, just boobs, orgies, dead bodies, and arms being chopped off. Also, because all the characters are awful, disgusting people, there's no one for the Drawn Together gang to play off, annoy, or shock. All we're watching is a bunch of jerks being jerks to each other. What's so funny about that? This is a film that doesn't care about the principles of comedy, it just wants to be immature for the sake of being immature. I'm not a comedy snob, by the way. I love black comedy. Gallows humor is my jam. But when you're doing dark comedy, it's got to be actually, well, funny, or it's just all darkness. Then we have the story, which is so boring! You'd expect a road trip starring crazy cartoon characters to be fun, but this narrative is beyond uninspired. It's so repetitive, every act plays out like this. The Drawn Together gang run away from I.S.R.A.E.L the robot, they steal a random form of transport, end up running over a recognizable cartoon character, and then I.S.R.A.E.L catches up with them. Rinse and repeat, throw in some moaning about being cancelled, and you have this movie's narrative in a nutshell. There's also lots of blatant filler too, scenes that pretty much waste our time as an audience, from an out-of-nowhere threesome sequence that goes on for too long, adds nothing, and isn't funny in the slightest, it's just three girls having sex, that's it. To a whole scene where it's just the Drawn Together gang listening to the film's audio commentary, with their responses being limited to, "This is boring to listen to." Very creative riffing right there, guys. Ugh. The film's major weakness in terms of story is the fact that I don't give a flying shit whether these despicable, selfish, and whiny characters get their TV show back. They're all terrible, unfunny people with no consciences. I mean, the first time we're introduced to these characters, they're willingly stepping on puppies just because their producer told them to. How am I supposed to root for these people? This is a huge detriment to the movie, because the Drawn Together gang's quest is a big part of the film. You can't make your lead characters overwhelmingly unlikable and expect the audience to cheer them on. The Drawn Together movie is like watching a cartoon fanfiction written by a horny, bloodthirsty teenager with a hate boner for Comedy Central and South Park. It's a self-entitled waste of time that failed to make me laugh or convince me that Drawn Together deserved more airtime. Its story is bland and unimaginative, the characters are horrible and unfunny, and it completely fails to understand why South Park is the more successful series. Sure, it has an audience out there. Many die-hard Drawn Together fans will get a lot out of it. It's everything that the show offer, but times 10. Everyone else, though, will get nothing, because as an animated movie experience, it really does not give a shit about quality storytelling or the art of good comedy. It just wants to fuck about and feel sorry for itself, like a bored toddler throwing a tantrum. Actually, I've heard that many Drawn Together fans like to distance themselves from this film. It's that bad. If you want the same reward that Jonathan Booth was granted that led to this video, then all you have to do is make a $10 plus pledge through my Patreon. Here's the link to my Patreon. Cheerio, folks.